Welcome back to Literature Guide. Today's video is about Marinism. Many 17th century poets were influenced by a peculiar, witty and ornate style employed by the Italian poet Giambattista Marini. Richard Crashaw and Thomas Carew were also influenced by this witty and ornate style. This video gives you information about Marinism and how the 17th century poets employed Marinism in their literary works. If you want to get more information, you can visit a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. If you really like the content produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. Let's dive into a video and enjoy the video.
Marinism in English literature. The term Marinism has been applied to the peculiar ornate and witty poetic style of the Italian poet, Giambattista Marini or Marino. He artistically made use of extravagant and far-fetched imagery, overstatements, excessive ornamentation and verbal conceits in his poetry which connect the remote things to the original ideas. Sometimes, it was done on the basis of new scientific knowledge. In short, Marinism is ornate and witty style of poetry. Giambattista Marini displayed his poetic style in his erotic epic Poemadone published in 1623. The Poemadone deals with the theme of love between Venus and Adonis. Marini has displayed his flamboyant poetic creeders, astonishments the poet's aim and aid, who cannot startle best at stick to trade. A fine example of Marini's verbal conceit is, blazing half-dimes of the celestial mint, stars. In his collection of shorter poems called Rime, Marini has adroitly exhibited his poetic caliber. The volume of poems earned name and fame for the poet. It was published in 1602. It is important to note that the term Marinismo or Secentismo denotes the affected and flamboyant style of Giambattista Marini and his 17th century imitators. Giambattista Marini was imitated by Marcello Macedonio and Giovanleone Sempronio in the 17th century. The readers can find some common traits of Marini's poetry in the poetry of great metaphysical poets. Though John Donne's poetry was quite distinct from Marini, it has an exaggerated subtlety as Marini's poems. Marini's poetry has refined style and manner while Donne's poetry has refined thought. Marini's ostentatious and erotic style of writings has left its imprints on many members of the metaphysical school of poetry. His poetic style influenced many renowned poets of the 17th century as Richard Crashaw and Thomas Carew. They were under the spell of the poetry of the Spanish poet, Luis de Góngora, and the Italian poet, Giambattista Marini. Richard Crashaw was an admirer and follower of Marini and Góngora at the early stage of his poetic career. He fell under the spell of the color, melody, and the exaltation of the poetry of the Latin poet, Marini. He was attracted not only by these striking qualities, but also by the strange over-refinement of thoughts as in the poetry of Marini. In his famous long poem, Steps to the Temple, Richard Crashaw translated Sospetto di Herode, the first canto of Marini's poem on the massacre of the innocents, and skillfully employed verbal conceits with ornamentation. Richard Crashaw's poem Steps to the Temple was published in 1646. Another poem of Richard Crashaw, The Weeper, is tinged with every conceit. It is a litany in praise of Magdalene's tears. In the poem, The Weeper, Richard Crashaw has described the expressions in Magdalene's grieving countenance in the following way. Not in the evening's eyes, when they red with weeping, for the son that dies, sits sorrow with a face so fair, nowhere but here did ever meet, sweetness so sad, sadness so sweet. Another metaphysical poet, Thomas Carew, was also greatly influenced by the erotic style of Marini. His poem The Rapture is pregnant with erotic mood and verbal and extended metaphor with a series of sensual images. It is an invitation to a fictional mistress known as Celia to mock the giant honor and relish forbidden pleasure without any hesitation and doubt. Thomas Carew has adroitly painted the paradise full of sensual and erotic pleasures for Celia. Thomas Carew has composed persuasions to a mistress. In the poem The Rapture, he has expressed the feelings of a lover when he sends her red and white roses in the following way. In the white you may discover the paleness of a fainting lover, in the red, the flames still feeding on my heart with fresh wounds bleeding. In the poem Ask Me No More, Thomas Carew finds all the rich faculties of nature in his beloved. He says, "For in your beauties, orient deep, these flowers, as in their causes, sleep." The poet also finds the nightingale's melodious notes in the voice of his beloved. He further says, "For in your sweet dividing throat, she winters, and keeps warm her note." Though the subject matter is commonplace, Thomas Carew has artistically handled it with perfect elegance. Thus, the poets of the 17th century produced fine poetry under the influence of Marinism, which appeals the heart and head of every reader of poetry.
How is the video? I hope you liked the video. I have already produced many videos on English prose, poetry and criticism. You can also get useful information on a website. The link of the website is there on the screen. You can get useful content regarding the NET and SET exams conducted by UGC India. I will meet you soon with a new and fresh content of English literature. Meet you.
Please subscribe Literature Guide.